What's happening?
Hey man, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you hopping on.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking me to hop on.
I was telling the story about going to see your buddy Brent Cobb last weekend. I sent you the picture of that, of the of him saluting your T-shirt there.
Yeah,
The
I talked to him today. So are your kids fans?
my daughter is a big fan, and then the other one knew a song or so, but afterwards he was more of a fan.
Nice.
You know what I mean? As far
I
as the
do.
way he treated everybody, and he was able to flip, him off in the picture, and he laughed about it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Young adults get a kick out of any vulgarities, right?
well, he's graduating too, so his perfect age.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, Brent puts on a good show, man. It's been kind of a progression for everybody to sort of get used to the whole live thing, and this is a bit of a transition, but they've they've been road dogging it. So glad to see he's doing good. Glad the show was good.
He mentioned the fact of that the entertaining part that's the part he has to work on, if that makes sense. The
Oh
songwriter
yeah.
first, entertainer out of necessity. Um, which one is that more? Is that kind of the same for you, or are you kind of 50-50, or how do you go with that?
Oh no, I'm exactly the same. I mean, it's writing is writing is the most gratifying part of it. Number one, writing is the part that I feel the most secure in. I feel like that's the way I can serve better. I can kind of, and that's writing is where I've built my relationships. Writing
Mm.
is where, it's, I mean, it's just, that's kind of my avenue. The live part is where I'm the most insecure, even
Mm.
after 30 years of doing it. You know what I mean? There's never a time when I'm, I mean, in spite of my latest single, it is, it's, it's easy and it's the muscle memory, but there's a lot of discomfort with it too. You know what I mean? And, just kind of, I mean,
'Cause
just this, I mean, the same things that concern anybody else about getting on stage in front of people concern me every single night. There's not a night that goes by I don't get nervous. There's not a night that goes by where I don't think, oh Lord, are these people going to boo me? Like, what's going to happen? Even if they're coming to see me, because I've played for as many empty rooms as I have played for full rooms. Probably. Well, yeah, as many. I would say. You know what I mean? Like
I
reduced
understand.
count. So. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like I'm better at writing across the board.
So, yeah, I've seen you, I guess 3 times in Memphis, and twice was at the High Tone, which was one of those
So,
rough
so
rooms.
you've seen me in empty rooms, then? Yeah,
I
you've seen
have.
me in the emptiest rooms humanly possible.
Yes, sir. Yeah, when you basically just said, "What do you want to hear?"
I have an interesting history with Memphis. I'll be honest with you. Some of the most interesting things in my life. I have one inappropriate story that's kind of the one I tell everybody
All right.
that happened in Memphis. I won't tell. If you come see a show live, ask me what happened in Memphis to me one time, and I'll tell you about it. I don't. There's no telling who's listening, but
Man, it
yeah.
sounds like I've heard Cody Canada tell a few interesting stories about Memphis for some reason. It seems like the truck stops across the river is things happen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. They happen at the Knights Inn over there near the airport too. So,
I got you. Um, yeah, so I saw you 2 of those nights at the High Tone, which, like you said, small room. But then the other time you actually opened for Brent Cobb one time.
yeah, that was at Minglewood Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yep,
a cool place, man. I enjoyed that show, and I mean, I think that was when was that? That was like second album. That was Providence Canyon record, I think, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good show. I was on that the majority of that tour. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time.
It seemed like that was about this time I guess started hearing you talk about um, like sobriety and or as far as not drinking and all of that. And I noticed that show, like you kind of dipped out as far as what I mean. Um, you weren't in the party.
Yeah.
Is that kind of I mean, is that do you do that for a reason?
It was
Or
transitional, I mean,
at that time, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where for, the first year of sobriety, I didn't want to be around anybody that drank. I mean, period. I didn't want to, and honestly, to tell you the truth, I didn't want to be around anybody because I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how, I mean, the thing is this, I drank because it was a way to escape being in places I didn't want to be in. You know what I mean? Like at home, I mean, still have bottles of alcohol that people have given me and stuff like that. But my wife and I don't drink. We don't drink beer. We don't drink wine with dinner. We don't drink at all, period. We got young kids. We can't afford to we have to be sharp. You know what I mean? We don't drink at home. And so the only places that I ever drank was on the job. And I did it for about 20 years, and I did it because of the fact that for the longest time, I just didn't want to be playing places for 4 or 5 hours a night, and just doing cover songs and stuff like that. And it was kind of a way to get the party started. That was what you were expected to do. And so it was kind of an escape. And so the years that I did that were years that I should have probably been learning how to hone my craft on stage. You know what I mean? And like
Understand.
when I should have probably been trying to, just strengthen my voice, strengthen my entertainment techniques, just a lot of things that I do now that I've really had to work harder on in the past 6 years. And so it took a good solid year to kind of come out of my shell. You know what I mean? Like it was a
Without
period
a crutch.
of time when and I mean, and now, and after April was 6 years. And so now I can fairly comfortably be in an environment. Well, I mean, every night it doesn't bother me. Like it doesn't bother me to be at the show and after the show and stuff like that. Everybody's drinking, everybody's having a good time. I don't drink at all. It doesn't bother me. I can be just as entertaining. I go stand by the merch table every single night. I talk to everybody that'll talk to me. I enjoy it. Nobody bothers me about buying drinks. Nobody does. Nobody even asks. It doesn't matter. And if they do, I just say, no, thank you. I don't drink. Or, I mean, I can go through Red Bull like the best of them. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of my other crutch, and which is funny because everybody's like, man, I don't say you drink all that Red Bull. And it's like, I would drink a bottle of Jägermeister and nobody said anything, but I would drink 3 Red Bulls
Right.
and you're giving me hell, And so, but at the same time, like, I have my windows and 3 o'clock in the morning, I really don't want to be out, but at the same time, I've learned how to be and I've had to be, and I've, chosen to be a couple of times. But yeah, I would say the first year was definitely hard. I mean, it was hard to sort of just get out in public. The second year, I kind of used it as a crutch. And the third year, I quit using it as a crutch. I put the crutches down and I just kind of started to get to know people again and start working on being just a better human and a better writer and a better artist and, just doing it sober.
So I guess two questions to follow up on that part. That when, I mean, you haven't shied away from it. I don't think you just, you don't have a neon sign about it. But when asked about it, you don't. And you've got songs like the harder stuff.
Right.
Have you heard any stories or anything from other people that, after talking about it, or anything like that? Have you gotten that kind of feedback from other people in their
Sure.
life?
Yeah, especially when harder stuff was a single, I mean, I got messages and text messages and comments and stuff weekly. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Sundance Head, but he's been sober for a little while now, and I mean he came up to me on a cruise and said, man, this song is the reason why I got sober, and I had a lot of that, and which is really great. I mean, it was by no means my intention.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's just, I'm not a preacher, and so I did it because that was what was, you kind of write about what and you write about what you're going through. And, I write from a place that like, if I have something that happens to me that I want to remember, if there's kind of a colloquialism or some kind of a positive affirmation that I want to tell myself, the best way to do is write it. And so, songs like Harder Stuff and Bad Days Better, those are kind of positive affirmations that I can sort of just kind of keep beating into my subconscious night after night. And so how it affects other people, I don't want to say it's secondary because it's primary to them, but at the same time, my intention is not to help anyone else. My intention is to help myself. I hope it helps. I hope it helps everybody. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to feel cheated in life. You know what I mean?
No, I got you. But I could, like you said, you wrote that song for you.
Yes.
First, and but I'm sure, especially the first one, especially if it's somebody you know. I'm sure the first one kind of makes you take a step back, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It was really humbling, and it also kind of it creates a certain responsibility. You know what I mean? And my wife and I kind of talked about that too. When we were going to release the song, she said, "Well, what if you decide you want to start drinking again?" And I said, "Well, I mean, if I choose to, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there." But I mean, so far so good. I mean, you live a couple of months without a hangover, and you change your brand. You get up at 9 and you're bright eyed and bushy tailed, and everybody else is dragging. You change your brand about.
You're like, ha!
I know, yeah.
Suckers.
This is where I win, everybody.
So, and you mentioned the fact of all those years that you could have paid more attention to yourself and your craft and everything else in these handful of years since you've been doing that. I'm sure you see videos and things of yourself. Can you tell a difference in that?
Yes, most definitely.
I know in the moment it's hard to know, but
well, for me, it's easier to do it in the moment because I'm conscious of it. You know what I mean? Like I can kind of be it's easier in that moment to be more intentional, to try to be, for lack of a better term, present. When I and it's kind of the other way around. Like when I look at videos or when I see like clips of myself, I kind of can't not watch them it's always from a critical perspective, and that's everybody. I don't know, it's like, oh man, I remember what I was thinking right there, and I missed that chord, and did you hear what I sang right there? That note was bad, and it's just silly little stuff like that. And I mean, it's things that'll always make me better, but for sure, it's helped me be more present. It's helped me strengthen my voice. It's helped me strengthen my stage presence. In anything, it's given me confidence across the board that I really needed.
I noticed you kind of passed through or kind of my area and played music with some folks I know from my area. And I guess it was South Fulton this past weekend where something happened with Argo, like his grandfather passed.
Yeah,
or
his
something of that
granddad
nature.
passed away. Yeah, and so James, who I've kind of just recently gotten to know, and man, he's kind of become a good friend. I went to his house. I wrote with James Otto. I wrote with James a couple of years ago once, and we hit it off. But it was just kind of one time. We hit it off. Neither one of us had a whole lot of time to have a lot of conversation, but I think we wrote a good song. We got along, and then I went back probably February maybe, and man, I just enjoyed spending time with him. We talked about guitars, we talked about writing, and just studio stuff. And his new record, he came down to Fame and recorded it. And so there's that kind of common ground. I've never recorded in Fame, but we live like an hour south. We live in Tuscaloosa, so I mean, Alabama is home for me. And so I've just kind of gotten to know him recently, and he's just a kindred spirit, man. And so I was really thankful that he called me because I had a great time. I mean, it was a neat place, and everybody was really gracious, and I mean, just got to play an hour in front of James Otto. I mean, he's spectacular, man. That guy's he's a beast.
Yeah, I kind of, I guess, reconnected with what he had going on through TikTok. I think you played some kind of event that he put on, and that kind of, I guess, led the connections. And then started following what he was doing again, and it seems like he's definitely. I mean, I always knew he had a soulful voice in the country world, but it seems like that's what he is promoting as much as he can, because he had with Argo, which is very soulful. You know, you play country music, but
Right.
you know, your voice is not just traditional, you know, country. You definitely got a lot of soul there. And then
Right.
even like, you know, and then I saw you were with Drake White. It seems like you're pairing up with these kind of out of the box country soul singers, which is I'm sure is especially some of the music that I know that you like. I'm sure as a fan, nice to sit back and watch.
Yeah, it's kind of fitting, you know. I mean, I feel like, you know, with James, I kind of feel like he's on the countryer side of soul music. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
like just with his instrumentation, you know, I mean, like he's got, especially at that analog show, he said he's doing that once a month, and so Drake and I did the first one with him, and it's a great venue, and he's got a great band, and you know he's got two backing singers and then horns, key, you know, he got the whole thing, like it just, you know, like it kind of just a soul outfit kind of. And so it's kind of the countryer side of soul music, and I feel like that mine is a little bit on the other side of that. I'm a
Oh
kind of
yeah,
the
yeah,
soul side of, you know,
yeah.
kind of the bluesy side of country, and
But you,
which is
you
cool, you know, and kind of
yeah.
the same thing with Drake, you know, and but it's nice to kind of be in shows like that to where I know that I can go in front of these people and do what I do and pick any song in my catalog, and it's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
some are gonna be better than others, some are gonna be more fitting than others, some are gonna be less than others. But like, you know, I mean, we're opening for the Red Clay Strays in a couple of weeks. Well, I'm opening for Miranda Lambert next week. That'll it's kind of the same thing with Miranda. Like, there's, you know, of course, we'll probably have a 30-minute set, but like, there's not much we can't do. The Strays, same thing. Like, there's not much we can't do. And then we go with Blackberry Smoke a week after that. Same thing. There's not much we can't do. And so, you know, it's nice to finally be able to have the opportunity to be in front of people that I know that I just, you know, I'm comfortable in that environment, you know. And if you know, if people don't like it, I don't feel like I've slighted anybody. And you know, people are always allowed to not, but at the same time, I just, you know, I feel more comfortable there. I feel like that it's more of a appropriate audience for me.
Which are all different kinds of different levels of environment too, too
Right.
between Miranda and you know, Blackberry Smoke and Red Clay. That's you know, I guess Red Clay and Blackberry Smoke would be similar, but you're how is that when you go? I know this is not your first time playing or opening for Miranda. How is, like, can you see, just that you're as an independent artist, you're you know, you're as much of a working singer songwriter performer as you can get in all aspects, right? So
Right.
when you go open for somebody like Miranda, can you see a physical, like, jump in your activity in different way, you know, and I don't know, in sales or just online or whatever? Can you notice a difference like that?
I do, yeah, and especially, I mean, the more shows, the more helpful it is. Like with, you know,
Hmm.
with Drake, and especially with the Drake tour, like that was
Yeah,
February to May, and not only that, like that was all East Coast shows. Like, you know, I mean, of course, you look on my tour
different
dates, like
area.
yeah, exactly. I spend, you know, I mean, between Georgia and Texas is really where I go, and with that, you know, we went from St. Augustine, Florida, all the way up to New York to Albany and stuff like that. So it was all new markets, all new audience, all new venues and places like that. So there was definitely a spike there. I mean, just in general numbers and the people that I met and just, you know,
Yeah,
merch sales, things like that. So that was really beneficial. And, you know, with Miranda, there's just so many people at one time. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I mean, she just draws, man.
right.
But the cool thing is about Miranda is the fact that, like, I mean, she's kind of, and I've said this a million times, like, she's kind of the person that gave me my shot. You know, she just, I mean, for lack of a better word, discovered me. You know, she got me my first job writing in Nashville, and you know, that's the publishing deal that she introduced me to was where I met Brent and all the guys that I write with. And so I've known her. I mean, that's been 20, 25 years ago. And so it's comfortable with her, but there's always new audience. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, and even playing with her in Texas, you know, I mean, I'm going to see a lot of, you know, and Wade Bowen's like, we're first to three. And so Wade is, is second act, and I've written about 3 or 4 songs with Wade. I've written 3 that he's recorded, I think. So there's the same thing. There's kind of commonality and relationship there, and so I don't know. I feel like we're a kick-ass opening act. Like I feel like that if we can be your 30-minute, 45-minute support act, I think we kind of kill it like that. I mean, because headliner is a lot of responsibility, and it's just. I don't know. It takes a lot of people, and it takes a lot of stars lining up to sort of be able to make that happen on your own. And it's things to think about that I don't know that I don't know that I have the capacity to think about, I mean, not that I don't dream that big, but my dreams, it's not that my dreams aren't that big. They're just a little more narrow,
Right. Well, and also, you're at this point, you're pretty much all in house for the most part, right? I mean, I'm sure you have a manager, but I mean, you're going from where you're at now to trying to haul a circus around from town to town would be a hell of a learning transition for sure.
Well, and it would be giving a lot of responsibility away. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about independence. There's no perfect scenario. It's just, it's kind of like the Mark Manson thing. You just kind of have to decide which level of pain you're willing to suffer. Like what kind of pain in the neck do you want to, what kind of hassles do you want to deal with in order to be able to reap the benefits, and but there's no perfect scenario. But I mean, independence is manageable to me, and because of the fact that I am in, for lack of a better word, kind of in charge of the creating process, then that means creative freedom. And so that's really important to me, because of the fact that if, I can't, it's not that I can't be pigeonholed. It's not that I can't be told what to do. I'm just not any good at it, and especially, I mean, dude, I'm almost 50 years old. Like, I can't get into the pop world. I can't chase trends. I can't do that kind of stuff, and so it's, I have to do what I do best. And the best way to do that is you kind of got to do it yourself, which is totally fine with me. I mean, it's more work. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot more work, but the rewards are there. And you just, I mean, you kind of, there's a lot you learn from where the money comes and where the money goes and how much money there really is. You know what I mean? So, and just different things like that. There's a lot to learn.
So I know, I mean, I try to promote, it's hard for me to keep up with really who's actual, like really independent and who's not. But,
Right.
I mean, I try to promote that as much as I can. But I don't think people still really understand, and I don't to a degree, what an independent artist does. Because I'm sure, like, even your merch and everything else is coming from home for the most part, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's the guy that we use for merchandise. I mean, they kind of help us with designs, and I don't. That's one thing with me. Like, I don't really have I don't have an eye for the visual aspect of it. I never have, and just never. I just never wanted to be honest with you. I mean, I guess I could if I had to, but my visual ideas have never been as good as people that do it. You know what I mean? And so I have. I have a friend named Kimberly Bryan that she did the Stage Light single. And so she'll kind of do the album singles and just got a bunch of photographers and people like that. Like, you can kind of build merchandise around images sometimes and just, different ways to kind of write your name and all that junk like
Right.
that, or song titles, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's, I mean, it's just a matter of being able to have relationships and being able to kind of communicate with the people that you work with and be able to say, I want to do this. And they go, that's a terrible idea. And you be okay with them saying it's a terrible idea. You know what I mean? And so, it is what it is. But I feel like we've just been blessed enough to kind of have those people. And you're right. I have a manager that he just manages me. I have a booking agent that books me and very few people. And we have a band and that's kind of it. I mean, everything's pretty much in-house and very much independent. I have my own record label. I own my own publishing, and just all that stuff. It's, we do all of it.
Yeah, that's what just kind of wanted to point out. Like, if someone were to go to adamhood.com and order a T-shirt or an album or something, I mean, that's going to be, as mom and pop as it gets. And I'm sure in your line of work, or in your realm of work, it's pretty common to,
I mean,
whether
dude,
it's in home or.
I was late tonight because I was rolling up T-shirts to pack into my merch because we're leaving tonight. You know what I mean? Like, that's like I'm literally rolling up my own T-shirts, packing up my own merch, and hitting the road with it. Yeah. So yeah, if you order something online and we send it to you, either me or my wife put it in a package and shipped it to you.
See, I hope that like sinks in with anybody that listens to this thing. You know what I mean? Because of how much that matters. Because then you trickle down of the effect of that merch that they just bought. That's going like literally to your home. So
100% of it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, and it really does. I mean, it feeds my family. And when it's like that, we don't have to have the numbers. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to sell that much. I don't have to get rid of this many units in order to sort of pay the bills. You know what I mean? Like we can just, when we own it, we don't have to have as much of it. And so, I got this a lot on the Drake tour. People were like, well, haven't I heard of you before? And I don't know. I don't have your ears, man. I don't know. But, and a lot of it's just because of the fact that like, we just, we haven't pushed ourselves in places where people kind of wind up pushing themselves. And because we haven't had to, it's just, I mean, we live, you always want to do better. You always want to have, just always want to reach more people. But I love my life, and I mean, I'm home right now. My children are going to bed in a little while, and, I'm going to leave and hit the road for 3 days, and I'll be home Sunday, and I'll see my kids. You know what I mean? Like there's no month on the road. There's no, I mean, it's Thursday through Saturday.
That's what I was going to say. The more you pushed it to try to, to get to whatever, other level, there's going to be a sacrifice somewhere else. And I'm sure that sacrifice is different now than it was. You have,
yeah.
I'm assuming you have younger kids at this point. So
I do. Yeah. I've got one in kindergarten, one in first grade. I've got one that's grown. And so I've started all the way over, in my 40s. But which is, that's its own decision, but nonetheless, it's. I mean, you're right. I mean, to try to do more, you would have to do more, and I don't know necessarily how much more I want to do. I mean, I don't know how much more my kids want me to do. I mean, I mean, I think they know that it tugs on my heartstrings a little bit to kind of, pour them out at me when I'm leaving. But I've been doing this since they were born. And I mean, summertime's coming, they'll be out of school next week, and man, we'll all hit the road, and so my wife and I have really tried to sort of embrace a family aspect of this, because we knew we could do it one of two ways. I could either alienate my family from this, or I could introduce my family into this and introduce my family to my audience to my family. And we could all do this together, and we all be one happy family, like all of us. And it just be a lot more comfortable. And so far, so good. I mean, I think, again, at the end of the day, aside from a few little daddy's not home things, I mean, I think they dig what I do.
Well, and I'll try to circle back around to that. But as far as you being, with it being in-house and mom and pop, and you're making your, I know you have a manager, but you're still relatively making your schedule.
Right.
That's, you have control of that. And I'm sure in the past you might not have had that control.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is this year. And again, this has really been a good year, just because, that Drake tour, I needed that. It was kind of the thing that we needed. I mean, we were getting to the point to where, like, man, we're just playing Texas, like here we are, another weekend in Texas. And I love Texas. I mean, it's great. They paid my mortgage for 12 years, but they pay my mortgage for 12 years. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, it's not that I get sick of it. It's just that I know they get sick of me sometimes, and sometimes it's nice to kind of, it's just as nice for them for me to get out of their hair for a little while and let some other people play and then come back after a couple of months and they'd be like, oh, wow, Adam, you look tan, or, I don't know,
Right.
whatever, so, and I get this, just absence makes the heart grow fonder in some situations. And so, but also it's, again, we really needed a new audience and we really needed to kind of get on. It was an answer to prayer, man, and I mean a lot of prayer and a lot of serious prayer, and it's led to these other opportunities that are, again, I think that's where we're good. I think we're a good, solid opening act, and so it's nice to kind of be able to do that,
Well, and not to slight anybody else, but a lot of people in Texas wouldn't have been able to make that, wouldn't have had the same reaction from the Drake White crowd, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So as far as crossing it seems like the Mississippi River is it's like the border. It's like the line that a lot of Texas artists don't cross, and I don't get to see them here.
Yeah, it's almost like the river's like an ocean. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you go like you like going to Texas from Alabama is almost like going to Europe. I mean, it is. It's it's kind of, it's always been its own thing. It's always kind of had its own resource and had its own kind of just the whole environment is really kind of self-sufficient, for lack of a better word. They kind of take care of their own. And I fell into it. I had my first manager lived in Austin. And so, he was like, well, why don't you come out here and play South by Southwest? And I just, I went out there, and first place we went to eat was County Line Barbecue. And Steve Earle was on, on the jukebox. And I thought, oh my gosh, man, I can hear Steve Earle. You know what I mean? And so it was just kind of it was a breath of fresh air for a long time. And it still is. I still enjoy being out there because like Delbert McClinton's one of my big heroes, and so like that style, and Jack Ingram he's a friend, but I mean, that guy is he was one of the kind of outliers that I really admired when I was kind of learning how to write songs. And Pat Green, I mean, man, that guy I remember going to see Pat at the Supper Club in Auburn, and that was, man, he was drawing and everybody was there, and it was Texas music getting everywhere. And so it was kind of cool, man.
So I've heard you mention that in different podcasts and stuff like that, as far as Steve Earle. I've heard you mention that quite a bit. And I know the same here. We hear Guitar Town, we hear Copperhead Road. That's probably about it for the most part that you're going to hear on the jukebox or hear a cover band play. But you've mentioned when you got to Texas, you hear other people covering other Steve Earle songs. Like, what's the backstory on that? I know you're a big Delbert fan. You're a big John Hyatt fan. Steve Earle, that was kind of a new name that I hadn't heard you throw out. And
so with me, okay, to go way back, like, all right, when I was getting started, I was in high school. That was I graduated in 93. So class of 91, that was like right about the time I was first playing that country music, Garth Brooks, Clint Black, so I was huge. Everybody was a Garth Brooks fan. Okay. Everybody was. Everybody was a Clint Black fan, and I was a big Clint Black fan, but Travis Tritt was kind of my guy because he was, number one, he was from Georgia. Number two, he didn't wear a hat. Number three, it was the bluesier side of country music. And so I saw Travis live more than I've never seen Garth Brooks live. I've seen Clint twice. I saw him twice. I saw him once, I'm sorry, because he came to Auburn. But I saw Travis 4 or 5 times, like from high school up until probably like 2 years after. From like 91 to 96, I saw Travis half a dozen times. And because he would play the Omni in Atlanta, he would play Montgomery, he would play Birmingham. He would play
he's a Georgia guy, though, right?
Yeah. And so, Auburn and Opelika, I grew up 45 minutes, west of the Georgia line. So Atlanta was a piece of cake. Columbus was right over the river for me, so I could go see anybody at those places. But I saw Travis a lot. Well, Travis, so he played Night Moves for the first time. That was the first time I ever heard anybody play Night Moves. I'd heard on the radio, but like I heard it live by Travis Tritt. And then he played Copperhead Road. And, Copperhead Road's overdone, but when you're 17 and it's 1993, it's not overdone. When you're 17 and it's 93 and you hear Travis Tritt do Night Moves, you're moved by it, And so what I did was I heard Night Moves, so I went out and bought Live Bullet. All right, so I heard Copperhead Road. I went out and bought Shut Up and Die Like an Aviator because you couldn't find, this is pre-internet, man.
Right.
So all you had was cassette tapes, and so you had to you had to choose what they had at the Radio Shack. And so, well, and typically what they had at Radio Shack, it was kind of the greatest hits weren't really, I don't know, they just didn't blow my skirt up, but the live albums did. It was like a greatest hits on steroids. And so those two albums were, that started it for me, man. I mean, it was that, and so because especially, and man, I go, Steve sounded terrible on that album. You know what I mean? Like, I think he was real strung out. It was in Ireland. And I mean, he said it in interviews, like he sounded terrible, but it was great because like he played Billy Austin on there. He played Devil's Right Hand on there. And so like, it really got me in, I started digging, and Seeger was harder to find because it was kind of late 70s music. So you couldn't find Seeger's recorded stuff as easy as you could find Steve Earle stuff. Copperhead Road was out then. Mile Zero was out then, so like I could actually trace it. And so, I mean, man, from that live album, I started at Guitar Town and I went all the way to Jerusalem. Well, yeah, Jerusalem. Yeah. Transcendental Blues was really the last Steve Earle album I really dug into. And then Jerusalem got a little political. And I
It seems they have kind of come back from that a little bit.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing, because like I think he made a Towns album, he made like a blues album, and I think he made a Guy Clark album or something like that.
Guy Clark, and I think he did one of his son,
Justin. So he's made these great albums since those that I just haven't visited, and I should, and I mean, I don't care about the politics. It's just, I don't know. I just never thought that was, I never felt like music was the place for it. You know what I mean? And so, which is really kind of ulterior, I mean, a lot of people use music as a platform to kind of do so. And there's a time and place for it. It's just never been what, I don't know.
I'm with you on that. I mean, it's just not really my. I kind of, if I'm listening through that catalog, it's probably I'm kind of skipping that too. Or it's not that it's bad, and I don't blame anybody, but it's just not my my thing. I don't blame them for doing what they want to do, whatever that is.
Well, and Steve's politics are interesting. You know what I mean? Like,
I imagine so.
He's got some interesting opinions on some things. And so, like I said, I kind of got lost. But the albums before that, man, and dude, the guy, I don't know how. Like, I read about half of his biography, and it's really interesting. I mean, he was a mess, and stayed a mess for a long time, and I mean, 3 years in prison. That's tough, man. I mean, that's Haggard kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. It's just kind of a triumph story. It's just that he's a survivor and he's a great songwriter, and he's kind of the second generation of the pioneers, man. I mean, Guy and Towns. I mean, those are the pillars, if you think about it. I mean, they may not necessarily be the pillars of Nashville, but like, I think they're the pillars of country folk singer songwriters, and Steve is really kind of the like, he's immediate generation behind that. I mean, Elvis recorded one of his songs. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. That's the nucleus,
I think another thing about that is they've at least what I know about them anyway. It seemed like they did what they wanted to do, whether you liked it or not.
Yes, exactly. Same thing. Independent, and sort of it took a lot longer, but they did it right, and they once they got there. Because, man, Guy Clark had some hits. I mean, he had some hits. Heartbroke is a hit. That's a hit. And so, and he had way more than that. And so, you kind of look at guys like that and you think that they're such an outlier. And as an artist, he really was. But he also had these moments of presence in the commercial world that just, I don't know, man, it's just that much cooler,
Well, not to try to blow smoke or anything like that, but I will say, one of the things I notice about Guy Clark, Jerry Jeff Walker, Steve Earle, any of those guys like that, Towns, they're much more appreciated in the world of songwriting musicianship, or even people that, even if they don't write songs, even just the people that pay attention to it.
Right.
I hear like you're one of those guys that, you know, as far as when I see people on, if I post an Adam Hood video and I see people comment on it or leave, you know, something, it's usually such and such music. You know what I mean? A lot of times it is other musicians are the ones that I see more than anybody that sing the praise of your music. So I'm
Thank you.
I think the authenticity and being real, the same reason why you're talking about Steve Earle and Guy
Right.
Clark and all that. I know you're not trying to be those guys, but
But I kind of am. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I kind of am.
Right.
I mean, because that was what I gravitated to. Like that was the music I felt. You know, like I liked Garth Brooks, but I felt Steve Earle. I felt Guy Clark. Like there was stuff I could, you know, it's like you hear a song and you immediately want to hear it again. You know, like that's when it's good, dude. You know, and that's what I wanted. You want to try your best to sort of invoke that emotion into people. And look, that's the one thing I realized, that if anything, that stuff's out of my hands, dude. I mean, that's, you know, I can't really control that. All I can do is just kind of just do the best I can and try to invoke that stuff in myself and just let my feelings come out. And, I don't know, the good Lord takes care of the rest of it. You know,
same as with the harder stuff. You know, you're doing everything for you, but I'm sure having you know, for lack of better words, classmates dig what you're doing, I'm sure is nice to hear.
it's the goal. Yeah.
How do you? I wanted to ask you this. I think I even made a comment on one of your posts about this. How do you? What's your initial reaction when you hear somebody covering, especially like the first time you ever heard somebody covering one of your songs back in the day?
I dig it, man. And the thing is, like, the thing that I really appreciate the most about people covering my songs or anybody's songs is, you know, I know in their head they think to themselves that they're doing it the way I do it, but I hear it so unique and everybody's, you know what I mean? Like, and dude, that's the beginning. Like, that's the place. If you can really find, that's what's so special to me about it, is because I can sort of see the seeds of that being planted, you know, because the trick is to find your voice, man. The trick is to sort of find whatever it is that you do best, and just be the best at whatever you do best. And so, you know, but you can't do that inside yourself, you know, like you can't, like when other artists are doing it, they don't hear themselves doing my song and it sounds like them. They hear themselves doing my song and in their heads it sounds like me. Like, to me, when I sing Purple Rain, it sounds like Prince in my head. It sounds nothing like Prince. And I feel stupid every time. You know what I mean? Like, I feel stupid enough to where, like, I don't do it, you know, but like, I was 11 years old when Purple Rain came out, you know, and so, like, I don't know, it's a guilty pleasure for me, but it's things like that. Like, you know, I always, regardless of whatever's coming out of the wedge, I hear it in my head the way the artist, you know, did it. And so that's the special thing to me. I always hear it when other people do my stuff. I can hear them in that song more than I can hear myself. And it's really cool. And if there was a way to nurture that, to kind of turn it around and go, okay, here's what I heard. When you sent me this, when I heard this, here's what I heard you do. You did A, B, C, D. Now, A, B, and C are awesome. D sucks. Don't do that anymore. But do these three, and you'll find yourself. And, dude, when you find yourself, you're off to the races, man. And I mean, like, that's it. You know, all you got to do is just keep doing it. As soon as you get there, sometimes it takes a long time to get there. It took me a long time to get there. Some people just don't. They never get there, and that's okay, too. You know, some people get there. Man, I mean, I know this guy named Rodney Reeds. He was in a band called Wayne that was out of Birmingham. Never played a cover song. Just brilliant. You know, just never played a cover song. He was always so unique. He always wrote his own stuff. Just, you know, I mean, never played covers. And so I always admire somebody like that, because you skip about 1,000,000 steps doing that, you know. But it's just,
it seems like there's a lot of young cats these days that, you know, that are finding themselves at at an early age, and it seems like the internet probably allows that a lot quicker. I can see how it starts being copycatted at times,
Yeah.
but also somebody has to start those trends.
Well, and I tell you this, I kind of realized that like the guys that are the most unique are just the guys that are bad at imitating other people. You know what I mean? Like even the Stones said that, they were the
Right.
Stones are so great because they were a shitty blues band and they were a terrible blues
They
band.
were a step from
So
falling apart.
bad. It's something so cool. And they were so genuine about being so bad at it that like it became something good, and that's the thing, I'm with you. I think that being able to see yourself on this device is pretty beneficial. Number one, because being able to hear yourself back is really beneficial. That way you can sort of do what I was talking about, like pick out what you like about. This I hate when I sing this song. I like when I sing this one. And so you can make those choices for yourself, and then you also kind of you get the gratification from social media that you used to have to get live. I remember I used to play this place called Fat Daddy's every Thursday night for years, man. And same thing, this back in my drinking days. And, Drake and I were talking about this. I'd start at 10. And so I played every Thursday night from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. It was like, this is when I started writing in Nashville, like my first 5 years in Nashville. And I was on fire. I was writing three songs a week, every week. And that was where the shape of things came from. That was where, still draw from that well. And I would go to Fat Daddy's. I would write Tuesday. I would go up to Nashville. I'd write Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I would come home Thursday. I'd play those new songs from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and then I'd get drunk. You know what I mean? And so but from 10 to 11, it was spectacular, and I learned a lot there. And that was kind of where, again, same thing. Like that was kind of where I figured out what songs worked. And now you don't really, because of social media, you can figure that out. And you can figure that out in your bedroom. You don't have to go sit in a bar till 4 a.m. and do it. And so, for all the negativity that you kind of, that sort of the stigma, the negative stigma that is put on social media, that's one benefit to it. It really is nice to sort of be able to it is a great sounding board.
Yeah, me personally, I just do, cover songs and a few originals, but I didn't really play my first gig out and, comfortably until doing stuff on here. Like,
Right.
For better or worse, I became more comfortable with myself for whatever that was,
Yeah.
So I can completely see where, and it took me to that point till my daughter said, you should play on TikTok sometime, but I don't dance. You don't have to dance on TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh, cool then.
Yeah, they don't even have to see your feet. Like you don't even have to you don't even have to have legs. Like it doesn't
no
matter.
pants on right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, got no pants on. Don't need pants. I don't have to have it.
I have a nice shirt on.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a bunch of different directions to go with all this stuff, but one thing I want to make sure we touch on, because I know a lot of people that are in the chat at the bottom, and that listen to your music and pay any attention to me, know that I'm a Blackberry Smoke fan, and they've been a part of a lot of stuff you've had going on over the last few years. I guess how did that connection match? I'm sure, they're Georgia guys. I'm sure the circle gets fairly small, but how did that match? And then how did it get to where they're recorded on your album?
So here's the interesting thing. So Charlie and I graduated from Opelika High School class of 92. Charlie graduated from Valley High School class. I'm sorry, I graduated Opelika 90 class of 93. Charlie graduated Valley High School class of 92. That's 15 minutes from each other. And so, Valley, at that time, Valley was 5A, Opelika was 6A. And so, so we grew up really close to each other. Never met, never played the same place. And so, and the separation was like we were talking about, like they headed east to Atlanta, I headed west to Texas. And so, we kind of started in the same place, which created a lot of commonalities musically. Well, we heard of each other and had kind of, I don't know that we had even really spoken. I did one show with them in outside of Charlotte one time. My band went and opened up for them, and it was really nice. They were gracious, but I don't think that we even met. And so it was all through Brent, through Ben Ratliff, my manager, and through Capricorn. I mean, we like, that was COVID when we did Bad Days Better record. And so Capricorn had just opened, like December of 2019, they had just opened. Brent lives pretty close to Macon, and he had just done some stuff at Capricorn with the Georgia Music Hall of Fame. Those guys had gone in with Jimmy Hall and done some stuff, and so like those two had started this initial relationship with Capricorn. My manager was down there with them. We kind of started all these conversations about it, and it was just sort of talk over beers and stuff. And I wasn't privy to any of it until COVID happened. And so just everything shut down and everybody started to be like, well, what are we going to do? And so we said, well, let's make a record. And Ben was like, let me call Trey, their manager, and see if they want to play on it. And Brent and I mean, we had already decided that Brent was going to produce a record. Brent and I, we're really close. We've been close for years and years. And so, I knew that he and I were going to go in and make a record together. We had talked about it enough. And so that was kind of the thing. I mean, Ben called Trey and we're like, what are y'all doing? They're like, we're not doing anything at all. So it was easy to get him down there to play on that record. It was August of 2020. And that was it, man. I mean, that was the beginning of it, and so it was a pretty fast friendship. It was Charlie and Britt and Richard were the two that were down there. And so, so what we did was I guess Britt lives kind of south of Atlanta, so he could drive down to make it and then drive back home. Well, but Richard and Charlie stayed. We got an Airbnb, and it was me and Brent and Richard and Charlie staying in a room at a house together. And again, our manager Ben. And of course, we would, you would think that would be party central. Well, we would go work at the studio for 14 hours and then come home and go to bed. It was kind of a sad old timer kind of party. You know what I mean? Like it was the
Right.
saddest non-rock and roll thing you could do, And so that's what we did for 4 or 5 days. And we had a great time. And that's it. I mean, man, those guys they're just the salt of the earth. I mean, they really are, man. And so, and I mean, Barefoot Angel was a song that Charlie just sent to me. He was like, man, I got this idea for this song. And he sent it to me. And I dropped what I was doing and just came up here to this room and just sat and gave it my best shot,
It's odd how some folks, like as far as Blackberry Smoke, I never really think of them as singer-songwriters, but that's exactly what Charlie is.
I know, and you're right, and that was I completely agree with what you're saying, and it was something that I really learned because, like, here's the cool thing about him as a singer-songwriter. He is a guy that puts together guitar riffs the same way you put together lyrics. And that's something that's missing. And that is something that, like, when I started out, I was the guy in Nashville, not in Nashville, but like amongst my circle of friends, when I was writing in Nashville, I was the dude that brought an electric to the thing. And I got out of that habit just because after a while it wasn't serving me. And, it wasn't I don't know, just nobody gave a shit about me writing riffs, and so I got out of practice. And then when I met Charlie, like Charlie had this Dropbox folder of them. It was him. And I think one of the guitar players from Buck Cherry or something like that. And they would just record riffs and just share them amongst each other. And like he had tons of them, and they were all badass. You know what I mean? Like they all sounded like Black Crow songs. They all sound like Blackberry Smoke songs. Mm-hmm. And so, I was like, and that was all it was. There was no lyrical content to any of it. And he was like, check this out, listen to this thing. And it was just like one after another. And I thought, man, that is so cool. Like the same way I have a notepad in my phone of all lyrics, and he's got that, but it's guitar riffs. And so, I mean, that's a lost art.
It seems like he started co-writing more too as time went on too, from looking from afar. That's what I noticed anyway.
Well, and that's just kind of the best way to sort of evolve, I mean, and I mean, think, right. Like I see well, Ward is a different story. Like Ward's been doing it a long time, but with Jinx and his relationship with Ward, I've been writing with Jinx a lot too. And like, that's the thing, like through Jinx, I met Brian Martin, I met Jake Worthington. Well, I met Jake before, but like I'd never written with Jake until Cody, and so kind of the same thing. Jinx understands that's an evolution. Like, the only way to get better is iron sharpens iron. If you want to be a better songwriter, you spend time with great songwriters. And I'm just glad to get in the room because it makes me a better songwriter too. Because if Cody Jinks thinks they're great songwriters, I think they're great songwriters too, and he's right.
Well, doesn't a lot of that go back to that whole, you've got your such and such amount of years to do your first album, and then months to do your second one. So I'm sure that plays into it a lot too.
And there are so many amazing songs out there, and there are so many songs that are amazing that, like, if you're honest with yourself and you're thick-skinned enough, you can sort of go, this song is great, I just wish it said this. And if you can say that to someone, all you got to do is write one just like it. Like, nobody cares. I mean, people do, but I mean, so what? I rip off something. You know what I mean? Like, who I rip off more than anybody? I rip off Adam Hood more than anybody. I mean, I completely plagiarize Adam Hood songs pretty consistently. And I mean, I don't know, I may sue me, but I mean, one of the two of me has to get a good lawyer. You know what I mean? So, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
So before we go anywhere else off of that, how was Brent Turner? Like, just from, like I said, from afar, he seems I saw him in the fall in Huntsville,
Mm-hmm.
and I know he was really sick.
Yeah.
But as far as listening to him, if you close your eyes, you never would have known. Like, he was exactly where he wanted to be and right exactly where he needed to be. But he seemed like he was just a fun dude.
So I had some clips of him in the studio that when he passed away, I put one or two of them on social media, and it was cool to watch them before I posted them, just because of the fact that, like, you listen to the record, man, it's hard hitting. Like, he sounds like he hits hard, and because he does, he hits hard. Mm-hmm. But you watch him, and there ain't a whole lot going on, and so that's a really special thing for a drummer, to sort of be a hard hitter and not really, they just kind of make it look effortless, you know what I mean? And that Britt was one of those guys, man. I mean, and he was such a great rock drummer, but it was really cool to hear him play shuffles. Like, he had this kind of take on shuffles that, like, it just gave it a cool vibe. And he was a really positive person, man. He was one of those people that like always commented. Anytime I posted anything, I'd see he liked it. Anytime I post, like, everything, no matter what it was, no matter it was, like, if it was a picture of my 5-year-old, or if it was like we were opening for Blackberry Smoke, he was always just, he was involved. And same thing, like, I met somebody that I considered a friend, and he was a force, man. And yeah, he was a real special person. And I know there's a lot of people that were really close to him that really felt bad, but I don't know anybody that knew him at all that doesn't really miss him a lot still.
Yeah, and I know that the band's going to keep going and all of that stuff, and I don't blame them at all, because I'm sure that's what Britt would want them to do.
That's what he would want. He would most definitely want that to happen, and they should.
So you mentioned, I guess I really just want to ask about all the Texas stuff before we hop off of here.
Yeah.
When you said you got to Texas originally, you were playing South by Southwest. Mm-hmm. Miranda heard you. When did you start really making all those connections? I know you're buddies with Wade Bowen and all these different people. Was it just pounding the pavement?
Yes.
In Texas?
Yeah. And it took a couple of years. Like, I mean, it took a couple of years of, like, I mean, I opened for Wade probably 3 times before we ever met, and then that was a couple of years before we ever got into a writer's room. And I mean, honestly, man, I mean, I feel like that in the years I've known him, I mean, I feel like that our friendship has been comfortable and genuine for probably a third of the time, just because sometimes, it just takes, good friends take a long time, and especially when people are really genuine, and he is a very, very genuine person. And I like your elephant. But anyway, and so, yeah, and the same thing with with Miranda. Like, I was we had been, I mean, that was, so I started going out there in 2004. That was 2007 when I met her. So, I mean, no, 2008 when I met her. So that was 4 years later was when that happened. And same thing. I mean, just kind of 4 years of going out there, just busting our butts, man. And so it just, sometimes it just takes that, and I don't know that for the sake of other generations, I hope that, I mean, yeah, I guess you learn from it, but there's easier ways to skin a cat. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to skin it with a butter knife. You know what I mean?
As far as beating the pavement like that?
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. And I mean, dude, I went through 3 minivans. I mean, I left 2 minivans, like 2, these were like my mother's cars. Like I left them, I left one on the side of the road. Like it just quit. It quit. I've got a Ford Flex that's still in my driveway. It has 431,000 miles on it, man. I mean, like I still own that car. You know what I mean? So like we worked our ass off. I mean, we worked our ass off and have for a long time. And so, I would say, yeah, sure. I mean, go play for anybody that you can, but if you can find an easier way to do it and still accomplish the same task and be who you want to be, man, do it. I mean, just, cause I don't know. It was tough, man. I mean, I lost a lot of life, and I drank a good decade of it away.
So, I know you have a new song.
Yeah.
Would you mind, are you in a situation where you can play that or?
Maybe.
Or you could do any of the song you want to do. I don't care what it is, but,
hang on. Yeah, I can do it. Okay, what's my battery life? Yeah, this one's called Stage Lights. Nobody tells you right from the start when you spend all your money on your first real guitar. Love of a lyric, life in a bar, and the tug of war that's in between. You try to stay relevant, you try to stay real, you follow your feelings, you try not to feel. Asses and seats are the only appeal to the gatekeepers holding your dreams. What's going on with this phone?
What's up, man? Is it working now?
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you coming back.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right, man. I know you got
I've had some interesting experiences with this. I've had some interesting experiences with this single and this video. Promoting it on social media for the first time. And you're talking about somebody again. This is owning it, and it's taking a bit. So I'm going to try this one more time now. If I'm curious to see what happens, to be honest with you. So
okay.
Let's play Stage Lights again.
All right.
Nobody tells you right from the start when you spend all your money on your first real guitar. The love of a lyric, life in a bar, and a tug of war that's in between. You try to stay relevant, you try to stay real, you follow your feeling, but you try not to feel. 'Cause asses and seats, well, they're the only appeal to the gatekeepers holding your dreams. Till the stage lights come on, and it's me and my song. That's the closest to home that I've ever been. An hour a night. There's no struggle, no fight, no right or wrong. When the stage lights come on, well, the whole night can hinge on one middle-aged man in the back of the room with 2 beers in his hand. My concentration and the rest who attend with a drown and a glass of red wine. And heaven forbid that I'd say anything, 'cause he damn sure don't care. This isn't his dream. But it's too late to get my hat out of the ring, so I guess I'll try changing his mind when the stage lights come on. And it's me and my songs. That's the closest to home that I've ever been. An hour a night. There's no struggle, no fight, no right or wrong. When the stage lights come on, there's no counting attendance, comparing myself to songwriters, singers, or anyone else. For a moment in time, I don't need anyone's help to be who I was born to be when the stage lights come on. And it's me and my song. Well, that's the closest to home that I've ever been. An hour of a night. There's no struggle, no fight, and there's no right or wrong. When the stage lights come on, no right or wrong. When the stage lights come on.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you made it through it. Nothing else happened. Or were you looking for something bad to happen?
I don't know. I don't know what to expect these days.
I got you. Man, so just a couple quick things and then we'll get you out of here. I know you got a family thing and get ready to go. So out of all your songs, I guess one, which one are you most known for? And then 2, which one would you do you wish more people would go back and listen to or give another chance?
Way Too Long is well, no. Play Something We Know is the one that I judging by my Spotify plays. Judging by what it says.
I got so many comments to try to get you to play that song. I'm like, no.
You know, it's funny. So I have a friend that I ask about this because Ray Wiley Hubbard, and I've been misquoting him. And so he said, the quote is something like, every time you finish a song, ask yourself, can I play this for the next 25 years? And so that was not my intention when I wrote that song. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but Jason Eady and I were talking about it, and Jason was like, man, that song is like an anthem. And I was like, you've been drinking too much. You're out of your mind. And so, I mean, I do kind of, I can appreciate the other perspective on the song. I can appreciate the fact that from an artist perspective, people can kind of see the tongue-in-cheek aspect of it. I can see from a listener's perspective, people they like hearing their favorite band in it. And so, you know, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, it's just the one that like, it wound up, so it was on Dell computers in 2004. And so everybody that bought a Dell computer they turned on the computer and it was on the Music Match jukebox. And so like the first thing you heard, like because of my name being Adam Hood, I was the first artist that was on the list. And so you heard Play Something We Know first when you turned on your computer. And so that was really like, that really kind of shoved it down the throat of a lot of people. And so because of that, it just kind of wound up on, I think it's on a lot of playlists. And so it gets about 2/3 of the spins. Like it gets a good 2 or 3 times the spins that everything else does. So that's what I'm the most known for. I would appreciate anyone choosing just
any other song.
I don't care. Just close your eyes and do this and press play and you'll be fine.
So what song are you? I guess would you say you're most proud of that?
Man, I'm really proud of Bad Days Better. Like I feel like that song is kind of there's a guitar part to it that's sort of, I feel like I kind of found my spot. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like it was me finally writing a song that, you know, when you pick up your guitar and you kind of start noodling around with it and sound check and stuff like that was what I would play anyway. But I just never wrote a song to it. And so I wrote it with Orrin Thornton, who is a guy that he's mixed like the last 4 records that I've had. He produced somewhere in between. He engineered the Shape of Things record. I mean, I've worked with Orrin for a long time. And so we wrote that song together. And it was just kind of, I told Orrin, basically I took it to him and I said, I need a song that sounds like this. And that's what we wrote. And so, like, that's what I like, acoustic sets. That's what I open up my acoustic sets with. And I'm proud of that one. I feel like it introduces me as good as any song that I have. You know what I mean? Like, and so, if people say, okay, well, what's one song that would really kind of nail down your style? It would be Bad Days Better, in my opinion.
All right. And 2 quick ones. If you, what was your first concert?
I saw Steve Curtis Chapman in Atlanta, so I saw it was a Christian concert. My first secular music concert was Clint Black.
I got you. And this is the most important question they've been asking in the chat when I was going to get this. What's your favorite Little Debbie cake?
Oh,
I know that's a tough question. That's like
question.
Really grilling you right there. I got it.
Question, man.
It's almost like politics, but.
Do you know the peanut rolls? The ones that are like they call like it's like a cinnamon roll with peanuts in it. I don't know what they call them.
Oh,
that's
the pecan thing?
Yes, the pecan one. Yeah, so that's my favorite. The strawberry thing, the one with the strawberry jelly on it, that's probably second favorite.
I got you. So you can't. That was total different take than most everybody.
What did you expect? So. Oh, damn old Star Crunch.
No, I got a video I'll send you about the Star Crunch. A guy that co-hosts this with me. He's very passionate about not liking Star Crunch.
Was he driving a
there he is, right there.
Something like that.
No, he's in the comments down there. Matt Willis there. No, it was just something funny. He's a trip. So he just basically says they're like what is they like cardboard with chocolate on it.
Yeah.
I'd wipe my ass with that.
If you drive a pulpwood truck, you every day for lunch you had a can of sardines, a pack of crackers, and a Star Crunch.
Star Crunch.
Yeah, and a
no doubt about that.
Glass of whole milk.
All right, man. I appreciate the time.
My pleasure, buddy.
Tell Edie and Brent to be cool like you and join the pod here.
Hey, I will. You shouldn't have to spend. It shouldn't be hard for you to talk Brent into it. He'll talk as much as I will.
No, he does like to talk. I could tell that. But that's. I mean, it seems like kind of like what you're talking about as far as he seems to be finding his own too, if that makes sense.
Well, you just kind of get to a place to where you get a little get to feeling good about things and you want to share it. I mean, and people ask how you like. I'm kind of an open book because I did a lot of things the hard way but I've also done it my way and I like where I'm at with a lot of stuff and so I'm proud of it and if it just helps lighten the load for a couple of people then by all means, man, let me let me share some of the experiences I've had and help somebody lighten their load. And just,
Man,
anything that'll make a better songwriter and anything that'll make just better music come out into the world. And there's plenty of good stuff out there. Even the stuff that's bad is good. I mean, it's all subjective, but just whatever helps, man. I'm happy to do it.
all right, man. Well, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that we would never get to, and so if you ever inclined to hop back on another time, we'll definitely make that happen. There's a
Yeah,
fella
let's
in the
do
chat
it again, dude. I'd love
name
to have a volume two.
Dan Adams. He said to tell you hello. He's on
One of my oldest friends in the world. What's up, buddy?
trying to get him scheduled to be on this thing too. So,
Yeah.
all right,
he's a
man.
good friend. All
I
right, buddy.
appreciate the time. We'll see you later.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
All right, see you.
If y'all don't follow him on these socials, make sure you do. Any of the whatever you stream your music on, make sure you go hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, so you'll know when he's got new stuff coming in, being released, and when he's coming to your area. If you've never seen him live with a band or just acoustic, guarantee you'll like it. And guarantee if you stick around and you talk to him, you'll I don't know how to say it. We went to see Brent Cobb last Friday. Stuck around, waited till the crowd died out, and got to talk to him for a few minutes. And just meeting somebody that's genuine, you can tell they appreciate you being there. And that goes a long way. So it goes a long way as a fan, but I'm sure it also goes a long way to the people that are away from home and away from their families and everything else. So